Welcome back to Jay Smokehouse. Today we're going to be covering the executive order in Kentucky on medical cannabis. The other day I released an episode on the results of the election on legalized cannabis in the US. However, while I was recording that video, I received a message about the executive order on Kentucky. So I decided to include it really quickly in that video. However, I really do wish I had taken the time to read the executive order before I even mentioned it. Because in that video, I'm really talking about how great it is that this was passed in Kentucky. However, now that I have looked at it, I have quite a few things to say. However, before we do that, let's go ahead and go over what exactly the executive order says for the possession of legalized cannabis. Now, first off, you're not going to be able to purchase cannabis or medical cannabis in Kentucky still. This executive order does nothing to actually legalize cannabis purchasing in Kentucky. It is much more of a decriminalization of medical cannabis for very specific personnel. Now, this is the actual portion, the last portion where the governor is actually talking about how it is going to be legal or decriminalized. So this would be section 1 of the actual order. The medical cannabis shall have been lawfully purchased in a jurisdiction within the United States of America, but outside of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. So right there, it's saying that you will not be able to purchase cannabis in Kentucky. And then let's go ahead and do number 2. The individual shall produce a written proof of purchase that shows the place of purchase, the physical location of the place of purchase, and the date of purchase. So when are you supposed to actually produce this? Is this anytime someone asks you where you got the cannabis, or are you supposed to have this on you at all times? It's quite confusing there, just a little bit. Number 3. The amount of medical cannabis in the individual's possession shall be a legal amount under the laws of jurisdiction in which the purchase occurred, but shall not exceed 8 ounces. Now that I actually have no problem with. I think 8 ounces at a time is quite enough for an individual. It's well more than enough, at least in a month, for the normal person, at least. Then number 4. The individual or the individual's caregiver shall produce a written certification by a health care provider who is licensed to practice medicine in the Commonwealth of Kentucky or in the jurisdiction of the individual's residence, and is in good standing with the appropriate licensure board within the Commonwealth of Kentucky or in the jurisdiction of the individual's residence. That shows that the individual has been diagnosed with at least one of the following medical conditions. Now, I will go ahead and have them scrolling on the screen as you see. And these are all the conditions that you would have to meet to be able to say that you need medical cannabis. And here's number 5, which is going over what your certification would actually need. The patient's name, date of birth, home address, and telephone number. The healthcare provider's name, address, telephone number, and professional license number. A statement that the healthcare provider has a bona fide healthcare provider-patient relationship with the individual. A statement that in the healthcare provider's professional opinion, the patient suffers from a medical condition identified in this order. And the healthcare provider's signature and date. And then number 6. The written certification required in paragraph 4 of this order shall not constitute a prescription for medical cannabis. Now, 7 and 8 are explaining what they mean by healthcare provider or a caregiver. Basically, what they're saying is they want the healthcare provider to actually be a doctor who has a relationship with the patient. And then the caregiver, they want it to actually be somebody who can provide proof that they actually are a caregiver to the patient. And this will take effect January 1st, 2023. Now, if this is all that was in the EO, that would really be okay, at least with me. I mean, it wouldn't be great, but it'd be okay. However, they have 2 pages before that going into why they feel the need to do this. And in those 2 pages, they have 1 paragraph talking about polling the residents of Kentucky. This is in paragraph 5 of the EO. In Kentucky, despite polling that suggests 90% of Kentucky adults support legalizing medical cannabis, any amount of cannabis possession, cultivation, and distribution remains criminalized. Past efforts to legalize medical cannabis through legislation has failed in the General Assembly, including during the 2020 regular session and the 2022 regular session when bills passed the House of Representatives in bipartisan fashion, but did not reach debate in the Senate. Now just think about that. 90%, 9 out of every 10 people that were polled said they wanted it legalized. Does that really say that the politicians are really thinking about their constituents? Now, sure, we all know that they don't give a hoot about us, but let's just think about that. What drives them? It's that money. It has to be. What else? But this is what gets me is the governor could have really blanketed that with an EO. It really seems restrained with cannabis, especially with everything that's in these 2 pages explaining why they think it needs to be legalized. Then they don't even put in the EO to legalize the actual distribution of medical cannabis in Kentucky to actually receive those taxes. No, they want the taxes to go outside of Kentucky. That's crazy to me. And I even hate taxes, but to use the argument of receiving your own taxes, that is one way, in my opinion, to get politicians on your side. They really listen to money. They don't really listen to us, but as soon as you start talking about more money, quite a few will start to take a little listen. Now, I do my best to stay away from politics on my channel, and I don't want you to think that I'm talking about anything right or left. I think that there's crap on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. Now let's go ahead and talk about something else. Having to get cannabis outside of Kentucky. Now that might sound like it's not that big of a deal. They just have to go to the next state. However, the next state, at least as I understand it, is either Illinois or Ohio. Now, Ohio is in the very northeast tip of Kentucky, and then Illinois is in the very, very west of Kentucky. And Kentucky is quite a big state. Some people will have to travel 2.5, maybe even 3 hours just to get to a dispensary in order to purchase cannabis. That's crazy. That's just outrageous to me. And so I really hope that this opens a door to much more cannabis legalization in Kentucky. And I really hope that those politicians that are already trying to attack this EO, get it together, guys. You can get money from cannabis. Stop worrying about tobacco and alcohol. Screw them. I mean, cannabis is so much better for you anyway. Gosh, dang it. But again, 5 states were voting to legalize recreational cannabis this year, and only 2 passed it. So we really need to get the information out and to help as many people as we can to get out and vote when something like that is on the docket, and to get the information out that it's even on the docket so that we can motivate people to get out and vote at least for cannabis. Now, I will be coming out with another episode on either my history and or my cannabis innovations very soon. I hope to get it out this week, but with Thanksgiving coming up, I'm not sure if I will. I'm going to try my best though. Now, I really hope that this has helped you to understand the executive order in Kentucky on medical cannabis just a little bit better. And if it did, or you enjoyed this video at all, please leave a like and a comment and let me know what you think. And also, please consider subscribing. It really does help out. And or share the video to anyone you think it might help. And now, as always, Jay is going to go smoke a J.